And your mother, she flew to India,
Yes.
she did a DNA test,
Yep.
and she brought back what she thought were Finn's remains.
Yeah. To come home and realise that's not your son is really tough.
Because that's what happened. You found out that the remains that you were told were his were not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Earlier, I spoke to Arwen Greenlaw, whose brother, Fiongal Greenlaw-Meek, died in the Air India crash, along with his husband, Jamie. In her first TV interview, I began by asking her about the moment she first heard about the crash.
So I had come home from work and, as I do, had BBC News in the background, and I saw the number come up for, I'd seen the tail end of the plane on the screen, and the number come up, and I just thought, well, they would have never flown Air India, was my initial thought. But I called and I was given a case reference number, and shortly after I'd had members of the family call and kind of start to get a little bit worried and think, okay, trying to call Finn and Jamie, not getting answers. And I think we kind of knew then really fairly quickly that they were on that flight.
And your mother, she flew to India,
Yes.
she did a DNA test,
Yep.
and she brought back what she thought were Finn's remains.
Yeah. By her own words, she was saying it was chaotic scenes, as you can imagine. And so she went straight to the hospital to give a blood sample. I think it was about 72 hours later we got confirmation.
So she flew to India and she returned with what she thought were her son's remains.
Yes.
Which must have been incredibly difficult.
It's the equivalent of losing him twice. So that definitely that's a burden on everyone really. And Mum had obviously seen the situation there, smelt the smells, seen the sights, heard, seen the crash site. I think for her that made it more real to be able to see that. But obviously to fly home in that kind of solemn situation really, and I can't imagine what was going through her thoughts doing that. So to come home and realise that's not your son is really tough.
Because that's what happened. You found out that the remains that you were told were his were not.
Yeah. So the first casket that arrived in the UK was tested and found to be the remains of two different people. And based on that, the coroner made the decision to check everything. And so Finn's was checked against DNA that we'd got off headphones at home. We found out that was not Finn. That was not his remains.
Just appalling. And is it right that there is a suggestion that Finn's remains, or some of Finn's remains, have actually been found? That you might be able to be reunited with some of his remains?
So we have been informed that a small piece of tissue, sorry, it's not very pleasant, was taken for DNA testing, and subsequently that piece of Finn has been found, and we have had confirmation this afternoon that that piece has arrived back in the UK and is at the Westminster mortuary awaiting DNA testing. So Jamie, his absolutely dear, dear husband, has just had his funeral, and that makes it very real. People can come together, they can mourn together, they can grieve, they can tell stories, they have that ceremony to help, isn't it? It's to help you understand really what happened. And we can't do that with Finn. I don't want people to think that this is, an unrealistic ask. This is the reason we are where we are, is because he was identified If he wasn't identified, it would be a different story, but we know that he was, and there was a mistake in the mislabelling, and that's the issue we have. Finn would have been 40 on Saturday just gone, so we had his friends and community in Ramsgate had a wonderful celebration. They did some fireworks and did some vigils, and we as a family at home had kind of a birthday dinner and did that, a little bit of that process, because we don't know how long this might last and how long this might take to get answers.
What kind of support have you received from the Foreign Office, and is it what you expected?
So I guess I want to say first, individually, everybody we've dealt with individually has been amazing. They've been very nice and very supportive and kind. I think it was very clear very early on that it was a developing case and lots of chaos. And I don't think we had people that could provide answers. I think there are improvements that could be made from a victim's family point of view about communication, about transparency, that aren't there. So if the Indian government, authorities, Air India, any of those organisations and institutions have information, how do we get hold of that? I believe that's through the Foreign Office, and we, as of yesterday, have a contact for the Foreign Office, somebody that we will be working with to get answers, I guess, as and when, if we can find them. But I think...
I mean, people might be surprised that you only got that contact yesterday.
So, yes, I think when it comes down to it, we got that yesterday.
So what do you want to happen now? What are the next steps for you?
Well, there's three things. There is dignity and closure. So this is about Finn and getting Finn home. Dignity for Finn, closure for the family. If that's not possible, because the worst case scenario and he's been cremated as somebody else, then we need to know that. That's what we need to know to move on. Secondly, some accountability. There are at least 2 that we know of that were wrongly labelled, mislabelled. Somebody mislabelled remains. That's added trauma. And then there's reform. Absolutely. The crash site not being closed for 48 hours, the lack of forensic kind of protocol seems, I don't know, but it would appear that there was very little in place. Misidentifying of bodies this isn't the first time with an Air India flight, and it just can't happen again.
Just boarding. Goodbye, India.
And people have seen the pictures of Finn and Jamie. We didn't know them, but they just look so happy.
Yeah, they were just starting. Yeah, they were amazing. Yeah. Yeah, what you see is what you get. If you see those videos, that is Finn and Jamie through and through, 2 parts of the one soul. Yeah.
And they died together.
They died together. They lived together, they married, they died together.
And does that give you comfort?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. They were 2 halves of one.
Arwen Greenlaw talking to me about her brother Finn and his husband Jamie. And the Foreign and Commonwealth Office told us that their staff continue to support the families and loved ones. They add that formal identification of bodies is a matter for the Indian authorities. The Indian government has previously said that all remains were handled with due regard for the dignity of the deceased, and they were working with the UK authorities to address any concerns. Air India has previously said it stands in solidarity with those affected by the accident and is fully committed to providing them with support.